Hello and good afternoon to everyone like me out on the East Coast. Good morning if you're out west. I love seeing how all the people introducing themselves, saying hi. This is a fun way to kick off the webinar here. We are going to be talking about reviews. First off, just want to give you a quick sort of introduction to the platform. If you haven't joined on our new system here, you'll see on the right hand side of your screen, there's a chat window. Get involved there, engage with each other, say hi to some familiar faces. If you want to then ask questions, there's a Q&A tab. That's where you can ask any questions you have. You can upvote existing questions. If you could keep all questions there, it just makes it easier for me rather than bouncing back and forth. There'll be a polls tab. We have a couple polls in here where I'll ask you some questions. And then at the bottom of your screen, you'll see some reactions, like you might in other systems as well. I might ask you to give a thumbs up if I ask a question, things like that. Feel free to use those however you like. So thank you to everybody for joining today. It's going to be a great session. My goal is to keep this nice and short-ish, and then that way we leave plenty of time for questions. Get you back on with your day. Hopefully you've got some tea or water. I've got my trusty Earl Grey ready to go here. All right, welcome to everybody. I love seeing all these coming in the chat. Okay, well we're going to kick it off here. We're talking about reviews, parent reviews. If you're working at a high school, you have some student reviews in there you can glean onto. Just a few housekeeping things always come up. Uh, yep, Tracy, if you're having trouble hearing anything, just do a quick refresh. Uh, if you have a firewall, things like that may cause some problems on that first load. So if anyone has trouble, if you see my lips moving and you're not hearing anything, feel free to just refresh, and that should solve your problem. Uh, Perfect. Uh, you will get an email tomorrow. They'll have the recording, slides, some additional resources, all that coming out to you. Also, a podcast version comes out in the Enrollment Insights podcast feed. I always like to put a version there. If you prefer to listen back to this or share it with your team so they can listen to it on their commute, walking the dog, working out, all that, you can go to, in whatever you use to listen to podcasts and go to the Enrollment Insights podcast. Or if you prefer, you can scan the QR code on your screen there. Either one will work. All right. Let's dive in. I'm going to start off here with a poll. Let's learn how to use that poll functionality in the polls tab. And I will put this up on the screen here as well. Are you asking for reviews? Is this something you're currently doing? Are you asking parents? Are you asking students? Are you asking alumni, community members for reviews to help get the word out there? Looks like we're getting quite a few in. Mostly positive. That's good. I will ask you a little later on here how you are using them, because it is absolutely important. Parents really value reviews. Students value reviews, and we're seeing students gain more and more involved in their school search, which is a blessing and a curse sometimes, I'm sure. Uh, yeah, it looks like most of you are using polls. That's awesome. Okay, good. We'll take this off the screen. If you still want to keep answering it, feel free. I think the first question you have to be asking here to some degree is why are reviews important to parents? I think it's a lot of the same case. If you're making a big decision of any kind, whether that's you're buying a car, you're buying a house, you're buying a washer and dryer, you're going to want to know what other people who have that have experienced. Same case with a school. If I'm a parent, which I am, looking for a school for my kids, you have to think about, okay, what are the experiences other people are having? It informs, but doesn't necessarily, it's not the be all end all. It's just a big piece of information. When we ask parents in our latest parent survey what they used to research colleges. I work in higher ed a lot. So if you hear me say colleges, have a good chuckle on my behalf. Uh, the the main thing they're using to research schools are school search and review sites. Uh, the the big one here being niche. We know we have the largest audience. Uh, the second biggest, they're going to Google for reviews. That can be some problems now with some changes Google made back in 2022. We can talk about that more a little bit later, but that is a place as well. Uh, 21% of people go to Facebook groups, 20% local blogs. They're mostly looking for what are other people saying about this school. They can look up and find the stats and the numbers a lot of places. But what are the experiences that my child will have in the classroom? What extracurriculars are there? Things like that. When we think about how influential other parents are, this was an interesting one that across the board, other parents were playing more and more of a role in how parents perceive schools. The number one, and this is interesting to me, is reviews from other parents on school search and review sites. Two-thirds of parents say that they were influenced in their enrollment decisions by just these anonymous reviews, not even someone they know. Next up there, we see parents of currently enrolled students that they know. So they're going to people they know whose kids attend that school. And then just over half um, say that, yes, they go and look for feedback in groups and forums, things like that. And then half saying they turn to other people in the same boat as them. So they're talking to other parents who are also searching for schools. When we ask parents what made them cross a school off their list, they're saying, "No, I'm not going to be looking at the school anymore, considering them." It was far and away 70% of parents said that it was just difficulty finding reviews or negative feedback from current parents. And let's be honest here, it's not, oh, there was one bad review, right? If you are making a big decision like this, you're looking for patterns. And that's what they're talking about here as well. Do they see a lot of people saying the same problem coming up? So you don't have to wring your hands about one bad review. Nobody's perfect. No place is perfect. You're not going to have 100% positivity across the board. It'd be nice, but thinking more realistically, let's worry more about, are we seeing patterns and what people are expressing concerns about? Next biggest thing drops way down there to a lack of diversity, negative interaction with school staff. So the number one thing the parents are looking for are reviews. They want to know what other people are saying. And what we've learned when we analyze reviews on niche, this is over 2.5 million that we've looked at. The reviews are largely positive. For all the worrying there is about negative reviews, almost everyone leaves a positive review. They're going because they are a fan of this place. They love it. That's not what we have to worry about. The most common sentiments when we look at what current students and alumni say are anticipation, excitement. They love this. This is a place that really fills them with joy. Um, an interesting tidbit: we always talk about community. Give me a hand raise or a thumb up if you talk about community in your mission statement, your marketing, things like that. That really connected much more often in reviews with alumni and current students than with parents. Then I flip that. Used much more by parents and alumni than current students. They're the ones thinking about the community of the place. And then teachers come up, which should be a no-brainer. I think hopefully this is something that's informing your marketing work as well. The teachers who are in the classroom with students all the time, they're the ones who make the biggest difference. They're the ones they're most often mentioned as being these assets to your institution. When we think about what a review is, it fills two buckets here. It is earned media as opposed to owned media. Owned media is the things that you own and control the messaging for, your marketing, your website, things like that. Earned media, you don't have the control over, but it also carries more of a weight. So when we think about what earned media is, it's other people talking about you. And if you have a strong brand, you will see in the reviews and other earned media, you're going to see your message and your brand pillars coming through. So this is a way to kind of gut check, is what we're saying what's actually being experienced. Uh, Reviews are a great way to check that out because that's where most people are actually seeing, what is this place? What's their brand? What's their culture? It's what other people are saying. It's not going to the page on your website to say, here are our value statements. Here is our brand identity. That's not where they're going to see who you are. Reviews also serve as proof points. And I love proof points because you can have the best brand pillars out there and have this great structure. But if you don't have the points to back up what you're saying, if you don't have the proof saying we are a place of acceptance, and here's how we know it. We are a place of excellence, and here is how we know it. You're missing a huge piece there. And reviews fill that void. There are these testimonials, people's experiences that tell you exactly what you are. And that's how other people learn about you, is these proof points. So how do reviews play a role on niche? Well, we know parents are coming to niche. 42% of parents are looking at a variety of types of schools. They're not just looking at publics, not privates, independents, charters, Montessori's. They're comparing different types of schools. And so when you're comparing apples and oranges, one of the things that will be something you can compare side by side is going to be what the experiences are. What are people saying about it? If you're seeing a lot of people talking about the teachers and the coaches and all that, um, that's somewhere that, okay, we this is a place that we know this is what we're looking for. This is the culture we want. On average, families are adding 3 to 4 schools to their list, um, and we know that they're looking at a lot of options. Well, reviews are a great way of leveling that playing field and seeing all your options. How are people coming to niche? Well, either coming directly, or they're coming in through Google searches. They're coming back to niche. They're looking for the reviews. We see a lot of traffic going to the reviews, because people want that type of content. They want to know, what is this place like beyond the numbers. And in response to that, how are schools changing their strategies? Well, in our most recent survey of schools and looking at their marketing tactics, 45% of public schools and 55% of private and independent schools say that they're spending more this year on digital marketing than in prior years. That's something that there's more investment in the digital assets. And we're seeing more investment in the digital assets. That's where it's easier to use reviews. You can serve up more reviews, more relevant reviews. And we're just seeing, in terms of priorities, increasing enrollment and retaining families. That's the main one across types of schools. I hope that's a priority for you as well. And how do you do that? Well, you can make sure you're doing the work by checking reviews. This always comes up, so just going to address it here. How are niche grades calculated? We're looking at the academic student life data from the Department of Education, from other niche users, looking at test scores. That's changed in the past few years. We're looking at college going data for high schools in terms of where students going on to, how many students are going on, but then also these reviews, the sentiment, the surveys from students and users. How are the parents talking about your school? And we always ask then, the reason that it's good to have these reviews is it gives more information for when grades are calculated. There's a cutoff in mid-July when we do the analysis then, and the new grades come out in September. Uh, that's something that the more reviews you have and the fresher reviews you have, the easier it is to get a feel for how your school is changing. So we look at changes in the school or the district data. So are you improving? Are you having more challenges? And then, of course, how that changes compared to other schools around you, in your state, in your city, all that. If you see an increase and yet everyone else increases more, you can still move backwards slightly in the ratings. That's not something that you need to. It's not a be all end all, right? It's something that people can take into account, but it's not the end of the world either. And then slight changes in rankings methodology, looking at what is most important to families. Are we aligned there? Now, hopefully, what you're all looking forward to, this playbook. How do we actually get more reviews and then use them? So, step one, there's no secret sauce. There's no mystery here. You just have to make the ask and ask for reviews. Ask the people you know. Now, I know we have some advancement people here, or at least one of the hats they wear is advancement. Uh, you have to make the ask if you want to receive, right? So this starts with your volunteers, your board members, and other people that you have strong relationships with. That's who you need to go to first and ask, hey, would you like to share your experience so other people can discover us? So other people can have the same great experience you've had. I don't think that it always needs to be this one-off email or postcard or whatever just about leaving a review either. You can include a CTA to leave a review in your regular newsletters, in your emails, in your print, if you have a magazine that you still print, including a QR code and a link in that as well, are great ways that you can still get in front of people and keep it top of mind that you can always leave a review here. It doesn't always have to be the only reason to reach out to them. You also need to not ask them, you also have to tell them what sites to go to and provide some guidance for them. Not just leave us a review, but here's where you can leave us a review. And here's some good ways to leave a meaningful review. You don't want someone going through and leaving a 5-page review, giving all the details. Well, when my son was in kindergarten, here's what they experienced. Here's in first grade. Hit the highlights, hit the things that are most meaningful to them, but keep it short enough people actually read it too. That's something that you always have to provide a little bit of guidance, a little bit of some guardrails there, because you might just get a review that's like, "Oh, it's great." Well, that's not a meaningful review. What is great about it? So giving them that sort of guidance can help as well. But then also giving them a why. Why is it important for them to do this? It helps families discover your community. It helps families come to you. The more reviews you have, the easier you are to discover. Google loves user generated content. That's something that can help you in search listings as well. A common question here: should you incentivize reviews? It's not a bad thing, but you always want to think about, well, what could go wrong here. Don't require them to leave a positive review, or don't require them to leave a review worded a certain way. That's not authentic. That gets really disingenuous fast. You can give them something small. This doesn't have to be a massive thing that you're going to have to come up with a whole new campaign for. So think about things like some swag, some school store discounts, gift cards, perks like a premium parking space for their kid, or for them for school pickup and drop off for a week, for a month, whatever. Just think about little things you can do to take that person who was likely to leave a review already and help push them over the edge. Help them see, "Oh, yeah, I was gonna do this, and that's really cool. I'll go ahead and do that now." They're gonna make the time if there's an incentive. Think about ways to piggyback. We've had a lot of schools find success by sharing Niche's monthly school survey push as a way to get reviews. That doesn't cost you anything. You share that out, the incentive's on us then, not you, and it's a way to get more reviews, as well. That's something that I hadn't thought of, and yet we've had schools coming back to us and saying, "Hey, this is working really well. Just want to share that. Say thanks." That's awesome. I love that. I love the creativity there. Step 2 here in our playbook: use social listening to find your fans and connect with them. You need to know, if you don't know what social listening is, you need to know who is talking about you and where. Social listening is just a way of tracking mentions of your name, your account handles, whatever those may be, any official hashtags, or commonly used hashtags associated with you. That's a way that you can find who's talking about you, what are they saying. You can find concerns and address those rather than letting them linger. And then you can go ahead and see who are the people who are sharing these great stories. Who are the parents talking about how much they love our school already that we may not have known of? Maybe it's that parent who was really quiet, and we never would have known, and yet here they are on Facebook just praising us all the time, and sending other people to us. Social listening is a way you can get in front of that. So how do you use that? Well, going through the native searches on whatever platform you're using and tracking your name with searches and then saving those is a very easy way to do it. It's a little more manual, but that's certainly a way to do it. Uh, on Facebook, you can use the top fan and rising fan features to identify people you can reach out to. I'll include a link to some information about that in our follow up. That's much easier than trying to go through it all here. There's some great free tools. If you are like most schools and have a shoestring budget, there's Meta Business Suite, Buffer, Social Mention, Follower Wonk. There's a lot of great tools out there that aren't going to cost you an arm and a leg. If you want some more functionality, if you want some more automation, I love Rival IQ, Hootsuite, Mention, Talkwalker, Brandwatch, BuzzSumo. All of these are ones. None of them are going to break the bank, but they're all tools that can add a little bit more punch to what you're doing as well. Great ways to track people and see what's being said. Our step 3: don't do the first two and then skip step 3. You're missing a big piece there. Step 3 is actually using your reviews. So you have people leaving reviews, that's great. Other families are seeing them. Awesome. But you need to use them as well. You can't just pat yourself on the back and say, "The people love us. That's wonderful. Let's do something more with them as well." Reviews are a great way to add those proof points, there's that word again, to your website, to your marketing. It's other people saying great things. This was a great example from Miami Country Day. They took a review and overlaid it on an image, in this case of graduation. Uh, and it's a way of telling their story through someone else's voice. This is a way, especially images, get a lot of engagement. Awesome. I love this example. Great way to use a review. Why do we use them? Well, from Trustpilot, they did some research in this, and using reviews in your outreach, they saw a 2% increase in customer acquisition. Now, for us, customer acquisition, what does that mean? Customer acquisition on the school side is about more inquiries, more applicants, more enrollments. They're directly tied to this thing. That's where attribution can be a little fuzzy. I would guess, especially given the other engagement, that's actually higher, but it's better to estimate low, right? Uh, an 18% increase in your email click through rates, having other people's voice in there, 35% increase in ad click through rates. That's something that I used to do when I was on the other side of the desk. Putting reviews in your ads was a great way that we saw more engagement. And then a 275% increase in organic search click through rates by having reviews. Just put those in your meta descriptions, things like that, where it's going to get more visibility. Awesome opportunity there. Now, where can you find reviews? People are leaving reviews all over the place. It'd be nice if there was a single source you could just go and look at everything. Niche we know is a big one for schools. Facebook, Yelp, going to other school search platforms. Google, kind of. I mentioned that before. They made some changes back in 2022, and now you can still leave a review of a school, but it's just not publicly visible anymore. They say they're still being saved as well. I never know. Google doesn't open their full playbook. My guess is that's for future use. Uh, I don't manage a school account, but you can go into your Google My Business and see, okay, are their reviews still hiding somewhere in there? Maybe someone in the chat can say if they've gone and looked. If you go to Google My Business, and you can manage all sorts of things of your search profile there. It's something that you'll see older reviews still. People can leave your reviews, but they're just sort of out in the ether somewhere. So that's a bit of a interesting tidbit, if you weren't aware there. I went and I looked um, for some sample review volumes here. I picked 3 schools here in the Fort Wayne area, uh, and I looked at how many reviews they have on Niche, Facebook, Google, Yelp, Great Schools, Private School Review, which only applies to the 2 private schools there. Uh, but this is, yep, you can look at some of these volumes and see where you're getting those reviews. Um, Not a surprise, since so many people use niche, we're seeing more there. Um, but yeah, it's go look for reviews in different places. You might find that gem that you really want to use for a campaign in one place or the other. Just have a folder of bookmarks where you can go and check in. We're doing a new campaign. Uh, and so let's go see what we can pull that would fit this campaign. Maybe have a doc saved of all your reviews. Big thing here. How do you bring more life to these reviews? So here's some examples, just some brainstorming. I hope this kicks off some ideas here. If you're want to bring these back to your team and talk more about them, these are some idea kickstarters. Something like having some videos, combine multiple reviews with some campus photography or videography, just having those text overlays. Great way to get the message out there, um, and adding some movement. Videos we know are great for engaging people. Don't do a 5-minute one or anything like that. 15-second, 30-second, 10-second, just short ones, maybe a review or two, some videography or some photography behind it, and see how that works. You can have students or parents read reviews. Stand up there, stand on campus, walk around campus, and talk about what their experience is like using those testimonials. Awesome way of doing it. Bring in faculty and staff voices. Can you have faculty and staff talking about reviews or having some overlays of student reviews while they're talking about their department, division, team, whatever. Uh, this was one that I actually did a few years ago and turned out really great. Surprise faculty and staff with thanks from students and alumni. Have them talking about their experience um, with the faculty member reading. Um, hey, here's what people are saying about me and their experiences with me, the impact I've had on their lives. It's a great way of giving them some much needed, much deserved thanks, while also bringing that story in. As people watch that, you're going to have alumni engaging with it, parents engaging with it. You're going to have the faculty members feeling great. You're going to have prospective families seeing that and saying, wow, what an impact these people are having on their students' lives. It's a great opportunity. So think about what that might look like for you. Lots of other ways you can use reviews and ads elsewhere. The one thing I want to say, if you're going to use reviews and ads, you might want to just double check. Different legal teams are more averse to this or not. Just make sure they're cool with it, whoever your counsel is, and make sure that they're okay. If you want to use people's names, that adds some more meaning to it, but definitely need to have their permission, especially if it's going to be an ad. Um, just check with your own legal teams. Not something, I'm not a lawyer. I can't do any of that. So, which brings us to this. Highlight them in digital ads, whether that is in imagery or in text. If you're doing a search ad or if you're doing some images, make the review a center there. These added voices are going to make you more compelling, more believable. You can talk about how great you are all day and night till you're blue in the face. You're awesome. I hope. But the parents, if you're just going to go out and tell them how great you are, why do the parents believe that? But if they start hearing other parents and students talking about it, that's a much better way for them to see themselves there and to really know, okay, they're backing up what they're saying they're doing. This really is who they say they are. Our second poll here, I want to know here, are you currently using reviews in your marketing? You can vote here on screen. You can see it in the polls tab. Looks like, well, we had in that first question, a vast majority of people asking for reviews, not always being used consistently. And it's hard. You've got a lot on your plate. Uh, that's something that can be really, really helpful. Okay. All right. We'll pull that poll down. Thank you, everybody there. All right. Next up, we're going to move on to your questions. If you have questions, you can drop those in the Q&A tab. Just makes it easier to manage everything there. You can upvote questions there as well. But we will move on to some questions. I love the questions popping up on the screen. Uh, we'll start with this first one. Brittany emailed this in. I'm sorry, everybody. It looked like the questions field wasn't working on the registration. I usually like to get some questions in advance, give you that opportunity. Sorry about that. When a negative review is posted, under what circumstances would it be appropriate for an institution to respond to the review? If so, how should the institution respond? I will tell you my feelings on this. I would love people can drop their own thoughts in the chat and things there if you think I'm way off base. I don't know that there's ever really a great time to respond to a negative review unless you have a solution. Uh, so you can look these up on your own. If you see negative reviews and you see a business owner responding to them, how often is it either, oh, I'm sorry you had a bad experience, or B, gets defensive and aggressive? I don't know that either of those are going to be a great response. Now, if it is someone saying, I've had a lot of trouble with this office, and it's someone that you can reach directly out to them. You don't necessarily have to try and do it in a public forum where they may or may not ever see it. But you can reach out and say, hey, I'm sorry you're having these problems. Let's make sure we get a solution. That needs to be, in my mind, it needs to be a response that fits your culture, and it needs to be a response that has a definite solution. Um, that's something that's something that, I don't want everyone going out and feeling like they have to respond to anything that they feel isn't a glowing review. Um, so if you do want to respond to them, make sure that it is meaningful and has a solution, not just, "Oh, I'm sorry for that." I don't know if that really works. Uh, yes, Abby, exactly. Uh, that's something where if it's something that you can have that response to and can actually do something about, great. Otherwise, I think there's other ways of doing it. Okay. Next up here, we'll go in order of upvotes here. Let's say we're having trouble with a PTA type group. Uh, I'm sure that never happens to anybody, right? PTAs are always great to work with. We ask parents to do a review during the actual meeting, and then we get dinged. Uh, yeah, I mean, don't tell them to all do it at the same time. Just say, hey, here's something, send them a flyer, put in the meeting notes, whatever, remind them in a follow up email, things like that. But telling people to sit down and do a review, yes, that becomes it looks very disingenuous then, because you have a whole bunch of them coming from the same IP address at the same time. Um, that very much looks like they're being told to leave a review. So you're going to get dinged anywhere for that. Instead, encourage them. Hey, think about this. Remind them in a follow up, but don't just sit down and tell them to all do it at one time. Uh, that yeah, that will get you dinged anywhere. Uh, let's see. Next up here, parents having trouble posting reviews on niche because they have to create a profile or sign in. Uh, is there an easier way? No, they can sign in and create an account and leave a review. But we want to know that it's not just the same person trying to leave a review over and over again. If they didn't have to sign in, you could just sit there and hit submit on reviews anonymously all day long. Uh, so yes, that is why we want to make sure we know who it is. It's anonymous on the site, but we can actually make sure that it's not someone leaving a review for every school in the county. Things like that. So, yep, it's very easy for them to sign up. It takes a minute to create an account. Um, so that's that. Uh, Interesting one here. How can Instagram be used for reviews? I've never seen someone use it for reviews because there's no review section where you can see reviews of a school, a business, things like that. You can use it for social listening, to find testimonials, find stories, but you wouldn't use it for reviews in the same way that you use a niche, that you use a Facebook, that you use a Yelp, things like that. Because those are places where there is a section of that profile specifically dedicated to reviews. Instagram with some social listening. Look up the hashtags, look up the name, look for people sharing stories. Yeah, this Instagram can definitely be used to find reviews, but you're not going to use it to, hey, go leave reviews on Instagram. That's not really how it's going to be best used. But using social listening, any of those free tools I listed, um, should be able to get you in there and find some reviews. Using Instagram search, I believe you can use the Meta Business as well, so you can get in and see some searches and things like that there as well. Interesting question though. Okay, next up, we share a secret sauce tips for suggesting ways to submit reviews. That's one of the things we covered a little bit earlier there. I don't think there is a secret sauce unless you count just making the ask, going out to families and saying, we would love it if you could share and start with your volunteers, your other people who are friendlies. Go out to them and say, we would love it if you would share some reviews about ways that your student has been impacted in the classroom. We would love it if you could share how their experiences have differed versus their old school if it's someone who's transferred in. There's a lot of very specific asks you can go out to people with and get some really great feedback. Um, but the biggest thing is just you can do a one-off ask, but also tie it in to your other emails, your other newsletters, things like that, where they're going to see it again and again. Repetition is what they need. Repetition builds their likelihood to engage. Uh, yeah, let's see. We got several more coming in here. All right. So, what whose reviews, parents, student, alumni, are most significant, and what should we prioritize? Parents care most about other parents' reviews. Students care most about students and alumni reviews. So if you are, let's say, a K-8, Lauren, I'm not sure what type of to school you're working at there. If you work at a K-8, it's going to be parents for sure. Yes, having alumni, but that I don't know how many people go back and review their elementary school off the top of my head. Uh, so thinking about that, if you're doing a campaign for parents, you want to use other parent reviews, regardless across the board. They're the ones they care most about. And oddly enough, and we had that chart earlier, parents care more about anonymous parent reviews than the feelings of other parents they know who have kids at that school. And I never know why exactly that is. That's always interesting to me. Uh, that's just an interesting piece there. Uh, okay. Next up, how heavily does testing data impact grades? Independent schools like ours don't report testing data. There's information I'll share out with the weighting and all that. Uh, but yeah, it depends based on the type of school, the level of school. All of that's actually on our website, so you can look at, okay, if we're this type of school, here's how heavily testing data comes in. Um, if that testing data isn't submitted, depending on the weighting of it, it may preclude you from actually getting a grade or a rank, uh, or um, or it would just have to re-weight everything else. So there's that. How many how many reviews do we need to start having a ranking card? It's typically about 5. Now I would have to double check that that hasn't changed, but that's typically where it's been in the past. We want to see 5 reviews, so you have some variety over time there that we can see what those are. You know, you you will see as you get more reviews, uh, kind of where you stand there. But that's the latest data I have there. Is we want to see 5. Okay, next up here. I think I understand that rating cards are taking into account reviews and surveys. Yes, so the reviews factor into the ratings. I'll share that information. If you go, there's a section on the site listing all the methodology, every bit of information you could want to know about every category on a profile. But I'll share that in the email follow up tomorrow. So when you get the recording of this, you'll get the slides, you'll get some additional resources that should help answer all that. And we had some other questions come in here. Quite a few. Okay. All right. A lot of questions. I love this. Yep. As you come in here, if you can put your questions in the Q&A tab, just makes it easier for me to manage all these. All right. My admission director is highly opposed to offering incentives for reviews. Do you have suggestions that don't involve incentives? There was the one that I suggested. If you send out a link to the niche monthly survey drawing, that's one that, as that's not any incentive you're providing, but it's the same. This is the norm. If you're leaving a survey for anywhere, there's likely going to be places to offer incentives. Don't make it a big deal one where people are going to be incentivized to go in and just leave a review to leave a review. Make sure that it's going out to people and it's small enough that it's going to reach people who are likely going to leave a review already. And it's that extra little bit to push them over the edge. Because a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I'm going to leave a review. How many of them do, right? So if you instead say, leave a review, let's make sure we have a way to kind of track that or verify it, and then let's give you a small thing. I gave some suggestions there in the slides, but uh, Yeah, it doesn't have to be a big incentive, doesn't have to be a monetary incentive. Um, but you can get around it if you just share the link to the niche monthly survey drawing as well. So that's an easy one there. I hope. Some people are more opposed to it. I absolutely get that, but uh, will it make a difference on who is asking a parent to write a review? That's an interesting question. I've not seen any good data on that. I'm not sure how you would collect that. Uh, no, I don't have a good answer there. I've never seen any research on likelihood to respond based on who's asking. But it'd be interesting. You could set this up as an experiment with your own audience and send some emails, maybe from a teacher, maybe some from someone in admissions, maybe some from school leadership, some from a PTA or parent group. Uh, that would be a really interesting experiment to run. But I just don't know how. I don't know that there's data out there right now. Okay. Long one here. We've attempted to reach out to parents attending PTA meetings and give them the why, plus a one-sheeter for niche and the how, and still got no reviews. They're hesitant to blast it out to the entire community or publicly, in case a few disgruntled families leaving us this year would decide to chime in. Uh, you can try the incentives. Try something small. Make it as easy as possible. So just telling them, hey, go to niche and review is one thing, but putting it as a QR code on a handout, putting a link in an email that all they have to do is click and do it, uh, that's more likely. The more barriers you remove, the more likely they are to take that action. So I'm not sure what sort of route you took there. Uh, yeah, I would say don't worry if you get a bad review, because it becomes real obvious when you read them who was just a one-off disgruntled family versus, okay, we're seeing a lot of the same theme here. There may be a problem there. Okay. Do negative and positive reviews have the same weight when rankings are calculated? Uh, that is a good question. I can check on that and follow up. Uh, I believe so, uh, but also timing plays a role there. If we see a lot of positive recently and one negative from a year and a half ago, those positives are going to way outweigh versus we've got a rash of negatives coming in. Okay, look at some of that recency. The same way that you would if you're looking at, reviews for a restaurant. If you're seeing a lot of bad reviews recently, you're going to weigh in your mind, oh, okay, something may be going downhill there. All right. Next up here, how recent do reviews have to be? I believe within the past couple of years. We can check on that and get back to you. Um, yeah, there does have to be some recency. So something from 5 years ago, you're a different place now, right? So uh, let's let's see. Next up here, uh, lost one here. There we go. Can niche reviews be easily repurposed and used on our websites and mailings? Absolutely, absolutely. Reuse those. That's where I mentioned uh, a little bit earlier, that definitely check with your legal team if you want to start using them for ads, things like that. Um, but you know, people people should be reusing them. So take these reviews. Someone's talking about your robotics team, and you want to do something promotional, or you want to talk about that team. Yeah, absolutely. Pull in a quote about that. We love seeing that. There was an example earlier in the slides with Miami Country Day where they were using niche reviews as text overlays to photos, and that's a great way to do it. Use them in videos, use them in photos. It's a great way of adding those proof points and have other people say, this is a great school. And then it's not just you talking about yourself. Okay. When I mentioned that you'd be dinged if multiple reviews are submitted at the same time, does that mean reviews be removed and don't count? Yeah, it's going to raise, and that's the case with any review site, any ranking platform. Uh, if you suddenly see a lot of reviews coming from the same time, but not just the same time, but the same IP address. So in the example someone asked about was they were all sitting together in a PTA meeting. Okay, it's all coming from the same location at the same time. That means someone told them, "Hey, sit down, leave us a good review." So that's going to be the case wherever you're looking. If they see a bunch, that raises flags to their quality teams. So yeah, not something you should do. Uh, let's see. Is there a way to set up a widget on our website to display niche reviews directly? No, that's something that's been explored, but no, not right now. So not a good way of setting up an API for something like that. Uh, let's see. Next up here. If we don't ask for reviews, will we see a drop in September? I assume you're talking in terms of ratings. No, it doesn't hurt you to not reviews. So you're not going to see this. We didn't get 500 reviews, and so we're getting dinged for it. No, it's more the more reviews, the richer the story is, and the better picture that families get, and the more information we have to work with. So it definitely helps you to have more reviews, but it's not going to hurt you to not get a bunch either. It just helps you get more visibility. Uh, Easy one here. Will we get a copy of the slides? Yep. You're getting recording slides tomorrow. If you prefer to listen back to this, you can go to the Enrollment Insights podcast feed and whatever you listen to podcasts on and find the podcast version of this in the morning as well. Let's see. Next up, do you find if teachers or parents ask for reviews, they're more likely to do it than if asked by administration? There's not really data on this. I don't know a good way of doing that. I mentioned a little earlier that I think it's a good idea to go through and do an experiment and take your list of current students, current families, and divide it up into groups and say, okay, we're going to have a teacher ask this group. We're going to have administrator ask this group. Marketing, advancement, whomever, alumni, other current parents. I would love to have someone do that and report back on the data. That sounds like a great conference presentation somewhere. It would be a really interesting study, but it's not something that we have a good way of doing because we're not a school ourselves. So I would love someone to do it and share out the data. Uh, let's see. And maybe the last up here. Do all free platforms send us reviews, or do you have to go search for them? You mean like the tools I was mentioning? You would have to log into that tool and look for who's talking about us, all that. In terms of reviews, in the sense of niche reviews, Facebook reviews, Yelp reviews, things like that, you would have to go look for those. I'm not aware of a tool that sends reviews. It's possible one of the paid tools would do something like that with mentions and things like that. But yeah. Okay. Got several more questions come in. Okay. Next up here. Why does There we go. Why does Niche keep old reviews on our profile? They're deprioritized, but they're still there because we don't go through and delete the past. Um, that's just a policy. We don't go through and remove them, but parents absolutely see the latest ones first. So they're going through and seeing the recency. All right. I know reviews are posted right away, or the reviewer's input on things like clubs and teachers held until the refresh in July, or the grades we see current. So the grades on the profile are refreshed they go live on the site every September. All the data has to be updated. So if you have there are some fields in your profile that there's no national source for, so we have you fill out some information that can be updated at any time. But what's used for the ratings cards is locked in July. The grades themselves are locked in September when they come out. So that's just refreshed once a year, so that you have consistent data across all profiles, and you're not having people refreshing mid-year, things like that. So any surveys, any reviews between now and July will affect those grades and ranks come September. Okay. Next up here, how does niche choose the three reviews that are published on our profile? We have many tremendous reviews, but they do not populate. Uh, that is a good question. I believe they're typically the three most recent complete reviews. I'll have to double check on that and see what that is, but that's a product question there. Okay, and one more come in here. We had an incredible review. Accidentally submitted 3 stars. Is there a way to fix that? Yeah, you can reach out to if you're a niche partner, reach out to your partnership manager. If not, there is email for the quality assurance team, and they can go through and take a look at that. Um, but yeah, that's something we can include some information about. Okay. Oh, we had one last question here. I feel like I've said that a few times, right? Uh, Slight diversion in terms of Department of Education government data. How long does it take to process the update? We get those all. The most recent. We process them. We process them as they come in, and then use them for the September update. Um, so when we receive everything, we process. I don't know how long it takes for the team to process it. Um, we just get all the files at once, process, update the profiles. All right. Well, I think that's everything. All right. Well, thank you to everybody. I appreciate you hanging on here. Uh, Great conversation. Uh, yeah, you will. And just a reminder for everybody, you're going to get the recording. You're going to get the slides tomorrow, as well as some additional resources and email. You can also find all of this on the Enrollment Insights blog. And then if you prefer to listen, that's on the Enrollment Insights podcast, which you can find in your preferred podcast app. So thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of the day. And thanks for joining us.